Coming.
Sun City in the Northwest Province and more than 80 South African off-roaders were there to make their cars sing for glory and the 07 Sun City 400 title, the third race in the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The route at Sun City is always demanding, and this year they would be the added hindrance of a lot of dust. The area had been without any significant rainfall, thus the cars would churn up tons of dirt in pursuit of getting to the line first after 400 grueling Ks of racing. In the production car class, there was 23 points breathing space between champion Hannes Grobler and his navigator Francois Jordan and his Nissan Navara teammate Duncan Vos and Brandon Harkes in a Ford Racing Ranger. The route was tough.
Every 2 years.
You need a lot to survive. Proudly sponsored by Tiger Wheel and Tire.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed.
Sun City in the Northwest Province and more than 80 South African off-roaders were there to make their cars sing for glory and the 07 Sun City 400 title, the third race in the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The route at Sun City is always demanding, and this year they would be the added hindrance of a lot of dust. The area had been without any significant rainfall, thus the cars would churn up tons of dirt in pursuit of getting to the line first after 400 grueling Ks of racing. In the production car class, there was 23 points breathing space between champion Hannes Grobler and his navigator Francois Jordan and his Nissan Navara teammate Duncan Vos and Brandon Harkes in a Ford Racing Ranger. The route was tough. 2 smaller loops of 120 Ks and then a similar drive with a longer 40 K sting in the tail. Tailor-made to break cars and morale, not to mention the dust that was already causing visibility and mechanical troubles for drivers, navigators and team bosses. For Shamir Varayawa and Siegfried Rousseau, the rougher and tougher the better. He did win the prologue after all, and he was all over Grobler like a rash. The Atlas Copco of the Harpers was rolling along smoothly. Their win in the Glughluwe event proved that their move to the powerful and slick Atlas Copco outfit suited their racing style. But their teammates Gary Bertelt and Henry Costain were not going to let them have it all their own way. They'd also closed the gap. The Barlow World Absolute Ford of Schroeder and Huxtable was next into view, and as they always do, the Ranger Dio was smooth and cautious without being slow. The Silwalts in their Silwalt Transport Sarco next charged past, up one position with the roughness of the route a big boost for the Space Throne vehicles. Defending SP class champions Woolridge and Schulthammer were cranking it up too and were hoping for a start to season after posting 2 DNFs. And they were also moving up smoothly. Mosaji and Bodhanya were still holding station in the top 10, with Silwalt and Muller in the second car right up their exhaust pipe. The big Rapsabat of Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter was 7th in class after the prologue and were racing hard for the top 10. With the father and son, Rob and Gareth Walk in the Super Pave Special speeding along, but only to fall victim to a broken left front upright, which put paid to their challenge. But there wasn't a lot of breathing space. Rearview mirrors had cars in them as far as the eye could see. The third with Bevan Bertelt and Robin Houghton in the second Castrol Toyota ticking along but running into early trouble. This time in Class S, Schilling and Davies were making all the right moves. Walt and Muller were getting a lot of encouragement from the roadside and were on their way to upsetting a whole lot of big names. They were loading up to record the third fastest time for the last loop. While Cronje and Birken's save the car philosophy was working, they got themselves into the top 5 in the SP class. But their rearview mirror was full of flying Hutchison and Bergman, who'd sorted out a lot of their early troubles in the Motorite Bat and were indeed flying. The same could have been said about the new Total Motorsport crew, Naeem Mosaji and Rayon Bodhana. They were strutting their stuff and climbed 2 places in class. Tollefson, who's a mountaineer in his spare time, and Quinn were also very consistent and picked off cars in front of them with regularity. while others dropped out ahead, and behind them, Marsh and Groenewald were up from 21st to 9th overall. While their teammates Whitehouse and Langton complaining of oversteer but were right behind them, also up 13 positions. And the trio of Regent cars was completed by the father and son combination Jan and Hendrik Kraai, who were leading Class B. Schroeder and Huxtable were up to 6th in the production car class and SP, but were hoping to perhaps pick up 1 or 2 more. But 2 punctures ended that idea. Taylor and Keith also produced one of the drives of the afternoon and closed the gap to the Kraais in Class B to just 1 minute and 46 seconds, but couldn't get any closer. Ruacon's White brothers were finishing with gusto, and on the home stretch, they slotted into 9th. With a dealer Toyota, the De Bruins taking 7th in the production cars. And still looking smooth. The absolute bat of Gibson and Brown was also putting together a fine third loop over 180 Ks, and appropriately wearing number 10. That's where they would finish. Ruacon's racing team got a second finisher to the line as De Bruin and Brits wove their way around and over the last obstacles. With the BD Auto team grabbing a top 10 spot with Arnold Duplessis and Yuri Knox nursing the Nissan hardbody through. Visser and LaRue worked their Toyota all the way and won Class E, a well-deserved victory for this likeable duo. But it was close as George and Sharon Barkhuizen in the Bloemfontein-based Ruacon Toyota were just 59 seconds behind them and chasing as hard as they could. With Rundle right behind them after he got some help from Jack Peckham when he got stuck, and that's what makes the off-roaders such a refreshing bunch. They'll stop and help a fellow competitor, even if it affects their own chances. And the emotional story of the day, the race Sonic's Nissan of Kutsiala Baskachny may have been looking the worst for wear, but he soloed it to 2nd in class and a tearful finish back at Sun City. A brave performance for his co-driver, Johan Gerber. While the Kuns were rock solid out there with a Land Rover that seems almost unbreakable. In Class S, Nick Gosler and Richard Carolyn had finally taken the lead after a race-long battle with Schilling, and they made the most of it. While Davies and Schilling battled a myriad of mechanical problems and lost an hour trying to fix them. But it was a packed finish line pavilion that greeted Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford as they steered the Nissan Navara home to a very popular victory. And even though there was evidence of an altercation with a very firm object somewhere along the line, the twosome was celebrating their first win in 4 races. They clocked 6 hours and 48 minutes and beat all the specials to the line. Woolridge and Schulthammer finally garnered some points. They took 2nd, almost 5 minutes down on Foss. 2 times off-road champion Alfie Cox brought his navigator Henny Tersteeg home just 3 minutes later to claim the special vehicle crown and 25 points for the win. The Motorrad team had done a great job of sorting out all the little things that a new car produces. Brandon Harkis, the driver of the Ford Ranger, has a faithful co-driver, Jean Moore. But for him, motorsport is not everything. He actually has a full-time job, and it's on the other side of the work spectrum.
Well, I'm a project manager working for Century Property Development, a company that does property developments, mostly residential. And my job is to look that things get done, you know, so that the bricks get laid, that the floors get go, the roof goes on, and at the end of the day we want to make the client happy, so that everything needs to be tip-top.
But how did he get into motorsport? We wanted to know from him.
Working on the car in the beginning was a lot of fun. I just came from school and needed a challenge and needed to do something, so I started working on the car, and then navigating for somebody was even more, it was an improvement on that. And then navigating, always have a bit of a thing that you think you can do it better than the driver. And that's how it came about, and one day that I ended up behind the steering wheel and it was a lot of fun. It was a very good experience, and it was very, very difficult to listen to somebody else to navigate for me driving the car. It was something else, and I think every navigator should actually get into that position so that you can understand what it's all about.
But what's it like inside his other office? Is there sometimes some friction, some build-up of pressure in the car?
Inside the car, navigator and a driver, there's always a bit of aggression there. The driver is trying to get past somebody as quick as possible, and the navigator is trying to show him the right way while there's dust. It's always a difficult situation. And yeah, then there's sometimes words that get spoken, and that doesn't come outside the car. I think every navigator and driver has got their relationship, and I think the things that happens inside the car stays in the car. But yes, sometimes it's difficult terrain with a difficult route marking. Makes it difficult for a navigator to come up with a route there and then. And then there is conflict between the driver and navigator. It's natural. But the navigator is there to keep the driver calm, not just to navigate, to keep him the pace, to tell him that he's doing fine, and to keep him going. Otherwise, we're not going to have the car over the finish line. That was all right, bro. The SP class is extremely competitive at the moment. We've got a world-class car. The car that we built in this country has competed already in Dakar, has competed with Colin McRae last 2 weekends ago, where he's done exceptionally well. And in South Africa, with the 12 entries, it is very, very good competition. I think there's very small differences between them. The class is put together very well, and it can only leave us with a lot of excitement coming up for the next 4 races.
Vehicle